Picture this, the world's most famous peace award colliding head-on with a military strike, a captured president, and a gold medal being framed like a collector's item. Not a metaphor, not a movie, just the kind of timeline that makes historians reach for antacids. So today we're doing a clean, receipt-based breakdown. What the Nobel Peace Prize actually is, how winners are chosen, why Maria Corina Machado won it, what happened after the US intervention in Venezuela, and why this whole thing has people asking the question you clicked for. Did Trump hit Venezuela because he wanted the Nobel? We're not going to claim we can read minds, but we are going to line up the incentives, the timing, the optics, and the public quotes, and let the dots start feeling uncomfortably close together. If you like Explain and Expose without the tinfoil hat, subscribe, and comment right now, motive matters or outcomes matter. I want to see where your brain goes before we get into the timeline. The Nobel Peace Prize comes from Alfred Nobel's will. Yes, the dynamite guy tried to end his story arc with, also, peace. Unlike the other Nobels, which are handled in Sweden, the Peace Prize is decided in Norway by the Norwegian Nobel Committee, a 5-member committee chosen by Norway's parliament. The selection process is structured and slow on purpose. Nominations close early in the year. The committee reviews, consults advisors, shortlists, debates, and then announces the winner in October. Now here's the part that matters for this story. You can't transfer the Nobel Peace Prize like it's a family heirloom. The medal is a physical object. The laureate status is an official recognition that stays tied to the person named by the committee. Keep that distinction. It's going to save you from 80% of the internet yelling later. Maria Corina Machado, Venezuelan opposition leader, won the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize, announced in October 2025, for her work advocating democratic rights and pushing for a peaceful political transition in Venezuela. So, in Nobel terms, she becomes a global symbol. This person represents a peaceful path forward. Now ask yourself, if you're a world leader who wants that prize, what's the fastest way to borrow that symbolism without actually winning it? Hold that thought. Here's the uncomfortable part. Trump doesn't just like the Nobel Peace Prize. He's talked about it like it's the one Pokemon he never caught. And this isn't vibes reporting. Reuters has repeatedly noted he's openly expressed interest in being associated with the prize. Now, the detail that matters for this story. Reuters asked Trump about Machado and the Nobel angle before the medal moment exploded. Trump acknowledged she won it, and when the "what if she brings it" idea came up, he didn't exactly hit the emergency brake. More like, he let the car roll forward in neutral. And listen, people can want awards. That's normal. But the Nobel Peace Prize is a specific kind of craving. It's not Best Actor. It's history approves of me. It's a moral diploma you can hang on the wall while the world argues whether you should be allowed to own nails. Once you understand he wants this trophy, what happens next starts to feel less like random chaos and more like a storyline with a goal. On January 3, 2026, Reuters reported that US forces attacked Venezuela and captured Nicolas Maduro, a dramatic escalation and one of Washington's most direct interventions in the region in decades. And this wasn't a two guys in a canoe situation. Reuters later described the operation as months in the making, involving extensive planning and multiple moving parts. Also, because reality is always messier than the press conference, there were reported casualties. Venezuelan officials claimed significant deaths among Maduro's security team during the raid. So if your brain is trying to file this under clean hero move, it's not going to fit. This is geopolitical surgery with a chainsaw, loud, traumatic, and nobody agrees who's the patient. Now here's where it gets bleakly poetic. The country at the center of the operation is also tied to the current Nobel Peace Prize laureate, and that connection becomes very useful. On January 15, 2026, Machado said she presented Trump with her Nobel Peace Prize medal at the White House. That's the physical medal. Medal, ribbon, symbolism, the whole polished conscience starter kit. Then, almost immediately, the Nobel institution stepped in with a clarification that sounded like a kindergarten teacher separating two kids fighting over crayons. You can hold it, you can't be it. The Nobel Peace Prize body reiterated, a Nobel Prize cannot be revoked, shared, or transferred, ever. The laureate status is permanent, and the prize stays attached to the official winner. So no, this isn't Trump getting the Nobel. It's Trump getting the object, the symbolic prop, while the Nobel Committee waves a giant sign that says, Please do not invent new rules. And the global reaction to the optics? Some Norwegian politicians called the idea of giving him the medal absurd, which, honestly, is the most Scandinavian insult imaginable. It's like being stabbed, with an apology note. If you're still watching, you enjoy messy timelines the way some people enjoy true crime, except the weapon here is PR. Subscribe and comment. Should Nobel medals be treated like museum artifacts, not political souvenirs? Now the main question. Did the Nobel chase connect to the strike? Here's the tightrope. We can't claim Trump's inner motive without direct evidence, but we can examine whether the sequence and incentives create a strong, strategic-looking pattern. So let's line the dots up. Dot number 1. The laureate and the country are the same story. Machado is the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize laureate. Venezuela is her cause. So if Venezuela becomes the biggest headline on Earth, her Nobel status becomes a megaphone. Dot number 2. The operation created liberation optics overnight. The US action wasn't framed globally as peace. A lot of leaders condemned it. But politically, it can be packaged as, we removed a villain, freed a country, saved democracy. That story sells. It sells hard. Dot number 3. Trump is publicly aware of the Nobel angle in real time. Reuters asks about Machado bringing the Nobel, and Trump doesn't slam the door. He acknowledges she won it and reacts to the possibility she brings it. Dot number 4. The medal handover becomes the symbolic payoff. Within days of the intervention narrative hardening, the medal appears, literally in a frame, as a physical symbol of peace being associated with Trump. Now, does that prove the strike happened for the Nobel? No. What it does strongly suggest. If you're who wanted Nobel-level validation, what better cut than linking yourself to the Nobel laureate of the very country you just saved? Especially laureate is willing to provide the symbol herself. That's incentive math. And the darker part, even if the Nobel reason the trigger got pulled, it can still become the structure that makes pulling triggers politically attractive. So why this hit nerves everywhere? There are two different storms here. Storm 1, the legality and precedent being set. Governments and international voices reacted strongly because a major power capturing a sitting head of state by force raises huge legal and stability questions. Storm 2, the Peace Prize being used as a political prop. The medal gifting is what made people go, wait, are we turning the Nobel into a partisan endorsement token? The Nobel Committee's clarification was basically damage control. You can do what you want with the object, but don't rewrite the record. The Peace Prize is the one award where the symbol is half the point. So of course this story became a fight over a symbol. What does this mean for the Nobel Peace Prize? Officially, the Nobel Peace Prize still means what it always meant. The committee names a laureate, and history records it. But culturally, this incident pressures the Nobel brand in 3 ways. It blurs the line between recognition for peaceful work and political endorsement by a laureate. It invites future leaders to chase Nobel-shaped optics without Nobel-shaped behavior. It forces the Nobel institutions to keep doing public clarifications, because the internet will happily replace nuance with fireworks. And that's the real concern. Not, did he get the prize, but did the prize get used? So, did Trump attack Venezuela for the Nobel Peace Prize? The timeline and optics make one thing very hard to ignore. A leader with a known appetite for Nobel-level validation intervenes in the country tied to the current Nobel Peace Prize laureate and then receives the laureate's medal as a symbolic endorsement, prompting immediate Nobel damage control. If that's not a direct motive, it's at least a very convenient narrative loop. Action, headline, symbolism, peace branding. Subscribe if you want more explain and expose timelines like this. And comment one of these so I know where you land. Coincidence or calculated optics? Because I've got a feeling history's going to argue about this one for a long time.